The SJ surface search radar detects a contact at 14,000 yards, bearing 040 degrees relative or at 23:12 hours on February 10, 1945. Lieutenant Commander John Kermit Fife, commanding officer of USS Batfish, studies the radar screen in the conning tower. The contact proceeds on steady course. Speed approximately 12 knots. Range decreasing slowly. The radar return characteristics, a small sharp pip with minimal secondary returns, suggest a submarine running on the surface. Fife orders course change to intercept. Batfish, a WWII-class submarine displacing 2,424 tons, surfaced. Increases speed to 17 knots and begins closing the target. The hunt begins. This is the first of 3 Japanese submarines that Batfish will sink in 76 hours between February 10th and February 13th, 1945. The 3 kills, RO-109, RO-112, and RO-113, represent the only confirmed instance in World War II of one submarine sinking 3 enemy submarines in a single patrol. The achievement demonstrates the effectiveness of American submarine radar, the vulnerability of Japanese submarines lacking equivalent technology, and the tactical skill required to convert detection into attack position under night conditions in contested waters. USS Batfish belongs to the WWII class, an improved version of the Gato-class fleet submarine design. She was laid down at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard on June 27, 1943, launched on May 5, 1943, and commissioned on August 21, 1943. Her dimensions measure 311 feet 8 inches length overall, 27 feet 3 inches beam, and draws 15 feet 3 inches surfaced. Submerged displacement is 2,639 tons. 4 Fairbanks Morse 10-cylinder diesel engines, each producing 1,600 horsepower, drive 2 propeller shafts through electric motors. Surface speed reaches 20.25 knots. Submerged speed on battery power reaches 8.75 knots. The armament consists of 10 21-inch torpedo tubes, 6 forward and 4 aft, carrying 24 Mark 14 torpedoes. The Mark 14, problematic early in the war due to depth-keeping failures and defective magnetic exploders, has been corrected by early 1945 and functions reliably. The torpedo carries a 663-pound Torpex warhead to ranges exceeding 9,000 yards at 46 knots. Against submarine targets, a single torpedo hit typically proves fatal. Submarines lack armor protection and damage control capacity. A torpedo detonating against the pressure hull creates flooding that overwhelms pumping capacity and sinks the boat within minutes. The deck armament includes 1 5-inch 25 caliber deck gun and 2 40mm anti-aircraft guns. These weapons serve primarily for surface engagement and anti-aircraft defense. The deck gun proves useful for finishing damaged surface vessels and conserving torpedoes. The anti-aircraft guns provide defense against patrol aircraft, though submarine doctrine emphasizes diving to avoid air attack rather than fighting on the surface. The critical technological advantage is the SJ surface search radar. This radar, operating at approximately 3,000 MHz frequency, can detect surface contacts at ranges up to 20 miles under favorable conditions. Against submarine targets, detection ranges vary from 8,000 to 15,000 yards depending on sea state, target aspect, and atmospheric conditions. The radar allows American submarines to detect enemy submarines running on the surface at night, when visual detection is impossible and sound detection is degraded by diesel engine noise. Japanese submarines in February 1945 generally lack equivalent radar. The Japanese Navy developed radar technology during the war, but production and installation lagged American programs. Most Japanese submarines operating in early 1945 rely on visual observation and passive sonar for detection. At night, Japanese submarines running on the surface to charge batteries are essentially blind beyond visual range, approximately 3,000 to 5,000 yards depending on visibility. American submarines with SJ radar can detect them at 3 times that distance, establish tracking solutions, and maneuver to attack positions before the Japanese submarine detects any threat. Batfish departs Fremantle, Australia on January 23, 1945, on her 6th war patrol. The assigned patrol area covers the approaches to the Philippines between Luzon and Formosa, specifically the Bashi Channel and Balintang Channel connecting the South China Sea with the Philippine Sea. These waters carry Japanese traffic between the home islands and forces in Southeast Asia. American submarines have operated in the area since 1942, interdicting Japanese convoys and isolated ships. By February 1945, Japanese maritime traffic has decreased substantially due to shipping losses and fuel shortages. The patrol area has become relatively quiet compared to earlier war periods. The operational orders specify standard patrol objectives: intercept and destroy enemy shipping, gather intelligence on enemy movements, conduct lifeguard duty for downed Allied aviators, and avoid unnecessary contact with enemy anti-submarine forces. The orders include specific guidance regarding submarine targets. American submarines are directed to attack enemy submarines when encountered, as reducing Japanese submarine strength contributes to overall Allied maritime superiority. The guidance notes that submarine versus submarine combat requires different tactics than attacks on surface shipping, emphasizing stealth and accurate torpedo firing solutions. Batfish conducts routine patrol operations through late January and early February without significant contacts. The submarine maintains patrol station, runs submerged during daylight hours to avoid air attack, surfaces at night to charge batteries and transit between patrol positions. The routine proves monotonous. Submarine warfare consists primarily of waiting, punctuated by brief periods of intense action when targets appear. Most patrols encounter few targets. Some encounter none. The crew maintains readiness through training drills and equipment maintenance while hoping for opportunities to engage the enemy. On February 9th, Batfish receives intelligence via radio from Submarine Command. The message reports Japanese submarine activity in the patrol area. American signals intelligence has intercepted Japanese submarine communications, indicating multiple boats are transiting the Luzon Strait area. The exact number, routes, and schedules are not provided, but the intelligence confirms submarine presence. Commander Fife orders increased alertness and positions Batfish to intercept likely transit routes. The first contact occurs at 23:12 hours on February 10th. The SJ radar operator, radar technician 2nd class Charles Hosking, reports a contact bearing 040 degrees relative at 14,000 yards. Fife examines the radar scope personally. The contact displays characteristics consistent with submarine: small radar cross-section, steady course and speed. No sign of zigzagging or evasive maneuvering. Fife orders battle station surfaced and begins attack approach. The approach requires careful maneuvering. Batfish must close to torpedo firing range, approximately 2,000 to 3,000 yards, while remaining undetected. The target submarine, if it detects Batfish approaching, can dive and escape or turn to engage. The approach therefore emphasizes stealth. Batfish adjusts course to close the target from astern, the approach angle that minimizes detection probability. The submarine maintains speed at 17 knots, sufficient to overhaul the target proceeding at 12 knots, while monitoring the radar continuously for any indication the target has detected pursuit. At 23:45 hours, range has decreased to 6,000 yards. Fife orders speed reduced to 15 knots to decrease water noise from Batfish's passage. The target maintains course and speed, showing no indication of awareness. At 23:58 hours, visual lookouts report the target visible as a dark shape against the night sky. The identification confirms the target is a submarine running on the surface. The submarine's configuration, visible in starlight, matches Japanese RO-class boats, medium-sized submarines, displacing approximately 1,000 tons with distinctive conning tower structure. At 00:15 hours on February 11th, Batfish reaches attack position on the target's starboard quarter at range 3,000 yards. Fife orders torpedo firing solution calculated. The torpedo data computer, a mechanical analog device that calculates required torpedo gyro angles based on target course, speed, range, and bearing, provides firing solution. Fife orders tubes 1, 2, and 3 made ready. At 00:20 hours, with range 2,800 yards and target bearing angle 80 degrees on the starboard bow, Fife orders fire. 3 Mark 14 torpedoes launch at 6-second intervals. The torpedoes, set to run at 10 feet depth and 46 knots speed, streak toward the target on parallel tracks, spaced to cover the target's length. The runtime to target is approximately 1 minute 20 seconds. Batfish's crew watches from the bridge and conning tower. The target submarine continues on course, showing no evasive action. At 00:21 hours and 45 seconds, the first torpedo strikes the target amidships on the starboard side. The explosion creates a flash visible from Batfish's position. The detonation ruptures the target's pressure hull. Water floods into the submarine under pressure. The boat begins settling immediately. The second torpedo strikes 5 seconds after the first, hitting forward of the conning tower. This explosion breaks the submarine's back. Fracturing the pressure hull structure, the boat begins breaking up. The third torpedo, aimed at the target's stern, misses as the submarine's attitude changes during sinking. At 0023 hours, less than 2 minutes after the first torpedo hit, the target submarine sinks. There are no survivors visible. Japanese submarine crews, trapped inside rapidly flooding pressure hulls, typically have no time to escape before their boats sink. Fife identifies the sunk submarine as RO-109 based on configuration and intelligence reports. RO-109, a Roe-class submarine commissioned in 1943, displaces 1,115 tons surfaced and 1,385 tons submerged. She carries 18 torpedoes and has a crew of 55. Her loss, confirmed post-war through Japanese records, occurs on February 11th at the reported position. All hands are lost. Batfish remains in the area, monitoring for additional contacts. The intelligence report mentioned multiple submarines. If RO-109 was part of a group, other boats may transit nearby. Fife maintains patrol station, running surfaced with radar active, searching for additional targets. The area remains quiet through the remainder of February 11th and into February 12th. The second contact occurs at 0048 hours on February 12th. Radar technician Hosking reports a contact bearing 350 degrees relative at 12,000 yards. Fife studies the radar return. The characteristics match the previous contact. Small radar cross-section. Steady course approximately 10 knots. Fife orders battle stations and begins another approach. This approach proves more challenging than the first. The target proceeds on a course that brings it toward Batfish rather than away. A head-on approach requires different tactics. Fife maneuvers to position Batfish on the target's beam, allowing a 90-degree shot angle that provides best probability of hit. The maneuvering requires 40 minutes, during which Fife must maintain radar contact while avoiding detection. At 0130 hours, Batfish achieves attack position on the target's port beam at range 3,200 yards. Visual lookouts confirm the target is a submarine. Configuration similar to RO-109. Fife calculates firing solution and orders tubes 1 through 4 made ready. At 0137 hours, Fife orders fire. 4 torpedoes launch in rapid succession. The target, proceeding steadily without evasive action, presents an ideal target. The first torpedo strikes at 0138 hours and 30 seconds, hitting the target's port side amidships. The explosion damages the pressure hull catastrophically. The submarine begins flooding and settling. The second torpedo strikes 10 seconds later, hitting forward. The double hit ensures fatal damage. The third and fourth torpedoes miss as the target's speed decreases during sinking. At 0140 hours, the target submarine sinks. No survivors are observed. The sunk submarine is identified as RO-112, sister ship to RO-109. RO-112, commissioned in 1943, has identical specifications to RO-109. She carries a crew of 55, all lost in the sinking. The Japanese submarine was transiting the area as part of the same group that included RO-109. Both boats attempting to reach patrol areas in the Philippines from bases in Formosa. Fife orders Batfish to remain in the area. 2 submarines sunk in 25 hours suggests additional boats may transit the same route. The Japanese Navy, like most navies, tends to route submarines along established paths when navigating through restricted waters. If RO-109 and RO-112 followed a specific route, additional submarines may use the same route. Fife positions Batfish to intercept likely approaches and maintains radar watch. The third contact occurs at 0945 hours on February 13th. Radar detects a contact bearing 010 degrees at 11,000 yards. Fife, sleeping in the conning tower to maintain immediate availability, is alerted by the radar operator. He examines the radar scope. The contact shows characteristics identical to the previous 2 submarine contacts. Fife orders battle stations for the third time in 76 hours. The approach on the third target occurs during morning twilight, complicating visual detection. Fife must close to firing range before daylight improves sufficiently for the target to spot Batfish visually. The approach is conducted at maximum speed, 18 knots, accepting increased detection risk to achieve attack position before daylight. The target proceeds steadily at approximately 11 knots, apparently unaware of pursuit. At 0:10:15 hours, with daylight increasing and visibility improving, Fife reaches attack position at range 2,600 yards on the target's starboard quarter. Visual confirmation identifies the target as a submarine. RO class configuration. Fife calculates firing solution quickly, aware that increasing visibility gives the target opportunity to spot Batfish and dive. At 0:10:18 hours, Fife orders tubes 1, 2, 3, and 4 fired. The 4 torpedoes run true. The first strikes at 0:10:19 hours and 20 seconds, hitting the target's starboard side aft of the conning tower. The explosion ruptures the pressure hull and damages the engine room. The submarine loses power and begins settling. The second torpedo strikes forward, penetrating the pressure hull near the torpedo room. This hit floods the forward compartments. The third torpedo strikes amidships, breaking the submarine's keel. The submarine begins breaking apart. The fourth torpedo misses, passing ahead of the rapidly settling target. At 0:10:21 hours, the target submarine sinks by the stern, her bow rising briefly before she slips beneath the surface. No survivors emerge. The sunk submarine is RO-113, third boat from the same group attempting to transit to the Philippines. RO-113, identical in specifications to her sister ships, carries 55 crew members. All are lost. The 3 submarines, RO-109, RO-112, and RO-113, are sunk within 76 hours by the same American submarine using identical tactics. Radar detection followed by surface torpedo attack. Batfish departs the area after the third kill. Fife assesses that remaining in the immediate vicinity increases risk of Japanese anti-submarine response. 3 submarine losses in the same area will generate search operations. Batfish transits to an alternate patrol position and resumes routine operations. The submarine conducts patrol through late February without additional significant contacts. On March 8th, Batfish departs patrol area and returns to Fremantle, arriving March 19th. The patrol report, filed by Commander Fife on March 20th, documents the 3 submarine kills and provides tactical analysis. Fife notes that radar detection proved decisive in all 3 engagements. The Japanese submarines, running surfaced at night to charge batteries, presented radar targets detectable at ranges where visual or sonar detection was impossible. The American radar advantage allowed Batfish to detect, track, and attack without the targets detecting threat until torpedoes struck. Fife recommends continued emphasis on radar-equipped submarine operations and notes that Japanese submarine vulnerability to radar detection suggests systematic exploitation of this weakness. The Japanese perspective on the losses emerges from post-war examination of records. The 3 RO-class submarines departed Formosa in early February with orders to transit to patrol areas in the Philippines. The submarines followed standard procedures. Travel submerged during daylight to avoid air attack. Surface at night to charge batteries and make transit speed. The submarines lacked effective radar warning receivers and had no indication they were being tracked. The first knowledge each crew had of attack was torpedo impact. None survived to report enemy contact. The RO-class submarines, while effective against merchant shipping when able to achieve attack positions, proved vulnerable to more sophisticated opponents. The boats lacked radar, had limited sonar capability, and depended on visual detection. Against American submarines with radar and well-trained crews, RO-class boats had minimal defense. They could not detect the threat before attack, could not evade torpedoes they did not know were approaching, and could not survive torpedo hits that American submarines might have endured through superior damage control. The strategic impact of Batfish's 3 kills appears limited when assessed numerically. 3 submarines sunk reduces Japanese submarine strength by approximately 2%, a marginal decrease, but the tactical demonstration that American submarines could hunt and kill Japanese submarines systematically using radar advantage influenced subsequent operations. American submarines operating in the Philippines area in early 1945 received guidance to prioritize submarine targets when encountered. The guidance reflects assessment that Japanese submarines, particularly RO-class boats lacking radar, are vulnerable to American boats with radar. The tactical evolution of submarine warfare through World War II shows consistent pattern. Technological advantage determines outcomes. Early war, when both American and Japanese submarines lacked effective radar, engagements occurred rarely because mutual detection proved difficult. By 1943, American submarines gained radar advantage, but Japanese forces maintained strong anti-submarine capabilities. By 1945, American submarines with radar faced Japanese submarines without radar in scenarios where technological advantage proved decisive. Batfish's 3 kills exemplify this advantage operating at maximum effect. The human dimension of submarine combat remains stark. Submarine crews die trapped inside pressure hulls flooding under pressure. Escape from submarines sinking in deep water proves impossible. The crews of RO-109, RO-112, and RO-113, totaling 165 men, died within minutes of torpedo impacts. The deaths occurred in darkness, in flooding compartments, with no possibility of rescue. Submarine warfare offers no middle ground between survival and death. Ships sink with all hands or survive with most crew intact. The margin between these outcomes often reduces to seconds, detecting the threat in time to dive, achieving firing solution before the enemy does, the torpedo running true versus missing. Commander Fife and Batfish's crew did not dwell on these considerations. Submarine combat in 1945 had become systematic rather than personal. The radar detected contacts. The contacts were identified as submarines. The submarines were enemy. They were attacked. They sank. The crew performed trained procedures efficiently. The technology worked as designed. The targets died without knowing they had been hunted. This efficiency, this systematic reduction of combat to procedures executed by trained personnel using superior technology, characterized American submarine operations in the war's final months. The comparison to German U-boat operations in the Atlantic proves instructive. German submarines, initially successful against Allied merchant shipping, progressively lost effectiveness as Allied anti-submarine technology and tactics improved. By 1944, U-boat losses exceeded replacement rate and operational effectiveness declined to marginal levels. The decline resulted from Allied technological advantages, including radar, sonar, code breaking, and long-range air patrol. German submarines, lacking equivalent technology and facing systematically superior opposition, suffered catastrophic loss rates. Japanese submarines in early 1945 faced similar technological disadvantage against American submarines with radar. The results proved comparable. Systematic losses to an opponent with decisive technological edge. The awards following Batfish's 6th patrol recognize the achievement. Commander Fife receives the Navy Cross, the Navy's second highest decoration for combat valor. The citation specifically mentions the 3 submarine kills and notes the tactical skill demonstrated. The crew receives Presidential Unit Citation, awarded to the entire submarine for exceptional performance. Individual crew members receive decorations including Silver Stars and Bronze Stars for their specific contributions during the attacks. Batfish conducts 1 additional war patrol, departing Fremantle on April 7th and operating in the South China Sea through late May. The patrol yields no significant contacts. Japanese maritime activity has declined to minimal levels. The war ends in August. Batfish returns to the United States and is decommissioned in 1946. She enters Reserve Fleet and remains in reserve through 1969. In 1969, the submarine is struck from Naval Register and transferred to Oklahoma for use as memorial and museum. She currently sits on permanent display at Muskogee, Oklahoma, the centerpiece of the USS Batfish War Memorial Park. The submarine's preservation allows public access to authentic World War II submarine. Visitors can tour the interior, seeing the cramped quarters, the torpedo rooms, the conning tower where Commander Fife directed the attacks. The SJ radar, though not the original unit, is representative of the equipment that detected the 3 Japanese submarines. The torpedo tubes, the control room, the crew berthing spaces all remain configured as they appeared operationally. The submarine serves educational function, demonstrating actual conditions aboard fleet submarines during combat operations. The 3 Japanese submarines, RO-109, RO-112, and RO-113, remain on the ocean floor at positions where they were sunk. The wrecks have never been located by marine archaeology expeditions. The water depth in the sinking areas exceeds 600 meters, placing the wrecks beyond casual diving depth. The submarines remain war graves, containing the remains of 165 Japanese submariners who died in the sinkings. No memorial marks their positions. Japanese naval records document the losses, but provide limited information about the crew members. The names are recorded, but the individuals behind the names are largely forgotten. The tactical lessons from Batfish's achievement entered U.S. Navy submarine doctrine immediately. The 1945 revisions to submarine tactical publications include specific sections on submarine versus submarine combat. The guidance emphasizes radar detection, surface attack approaches, and multiple torpedo salvos to ensure kills. The doctrine notes that enemy submarines lacking radar provide targets of opportunity that should be engaged aggressively. The doctrine remains classified through 1973, when declassification allows publication of wartime submarine tactics. The technological lesson concerns radar importance in submarine operations. Batfish's radar allowed detection at ranges 3 times greater than visual detection. This range advantage provided time to establish attack positions and launch torpedoes before targets could react. The lesson influenced post-war submarine design. All post-war American submarines receive radar as standard equipment. The radars improved progressively through the Cold War, with each generation providing better detection range and resolution. The modern equivalent. Active and passive sonar systems combined with sophisticated signal processing provides detection capabilities that make Batfish's SJ radar appear primitive. But the fundamental principle remains: detection at distance beyond enemy detection range provides decisive advantage. The strategic assessment of Batfish's patrol places the achievement in context. The 3 submarine kills, while tactically impressive, occurred late in the war when Japanese submarine force had already suffered catastrophic losses. By February 1945, Japan operated fewer than 40 submarines capable of offensive operations. American anti-submarine forces had already reduced Japanese submarine strength by approximately 75% from peak strength. Batfish's 3 kills contributed to ongoing attrition but did not fundamentally change strategic balance. The historical significance emerges from the uniqueness of the achievement rather than strategic impact. No other submarine in World War II sank 3 enemy submarines in single patrol. Several submarines achieved 2 kills. Many achieved single kills. Only Batfish achieved 3 in 76 hours. The achievement demonstrates what was possible when technological advantage, tactical skill, intelligence support, and operational circumstances aligned perfectly. The circumstances included Japanese submarines transiting predictable routes, American intelligence detecting the transit, Batfish positioned correctly to intercept, and the targets lacking technology to detect threat before attack. The counterfactual consideration asks what would have occurred if the Japanese submarines possessed radar equivalent to American SJ radar. The probable outcome is mutual detection at similar ranges, followed by either mutual avoidance or surface gun action rather than submerged torpedo attack. Submarines encountering other submarines typically prefer avoiding engagement unless circumstances strongly favor attack. If both submarines detect each other simultaneously, the advantage disappears and engagement risk increases for both parties. Batfish's achievement depended on detecting targets that could not detect her, creating the decisive advantage that allowed successful attacks. The memory of the achievement persists primarily through the preserved submarine and the modest literature on submarine operations. The 3 kills receive mention in submarine warfare histories, typically in sections covering American submarine operations in early 1945. The achievement is noted as exceptional but not examined in extensive detail. The reasons for limited attention likely include the late war timing, when public interest focused on impending invasion of Japan, and the technical nature of submarine versus submarine combat, which provides less dramatic narrative than attacks on surface shipping or combat with destroyers. Commander Fife survived the war and remained in naval service through 1963, achieving rank of Rear Admiral before retirement. His post-war service included command of submarine divisions and staff positions related to submarine warfare development. He died in 1985 at age 73. His obituary mentioned his Navy Cross in command of Batfish, but did not detail the 3 submarine kills. The achievement, central to his wartime service, became footnote in a career spanning 4 decades. The crew members of Batfish dispersed after the war. Most returned to civilian life. A few remained in naval service. Several attended reunions organized periodically through the 1980s and 90s. The reunions, held at the Submarine Memorial in Oklahoma, allowed veterans to tour their old boat and share memories with comrades. The attendance declined through the 1990s as veterans aged. The last known reunion occurred in 2004 with fewer than 10 attendees. The veterans who hunted submarines in February 1945 are now dead or too elderly for travel. Their testimony exists in archived oral histories and published memoirs, available to researchers but largely unknown to general public. The technical details of the engagements remain documented in patrol reports, declassified in 1970s and available through national archives. The reports provide precise information on radar contacts, attack approaches, torpedo firing solutions, and results. The documentation allows reconstruction of the engagements with accuracy impossible for most World War II naval actions. The SJ radar logs, the torpedo firing records, the navigation plots all survive. They show exactly how Batfish detected, tracked, and killed 3 Japanese submarines. What the documents cannot show is the experience of being hunted without knowing the hunter approaches. The Japanese submarine crews, conducting routine surface transits, had no indication they were targets until torpedoes struck. They died without understanding what killed them. Their submarines sank within minutes, taking all hands down. The survivors numbered 0 from 165 men. The speed of death, the totality of loss, represents submarine warfare at its most brutal. The technological advantage that enabled Batfish to hunt invisibly created conditions where the hunted had no chance to fight, flee, or surrender. They simply died. The moral consideration of this asymmetry remains complex. Submarine warfare inherently involves stealth attack on unsuspecting targets. Surface ships torpedoed by submarines typically have minimal warning. Merchant ships sunk by submarines often lose crews unable to abandon ship before sinking. The Japanese submarines hunted by Batfish would have attacked American submarines using identical tactics if they had possessed equivalent capability. The asymmetry resulted from technological advantage, not moral choice. Batfish employed available technology to maximum effect against enemy forces. The technology proved decisive. The enemy died. The final accounting remains factual. USS Batfish, on 6th War Patrol, sank 3 Japanese submarines in 76 hours using radar detection and torpedo attack. The submarines were RO-109, RO-112, and RO-113. The crews totaled 165 men. All died. Batfish suffered no casualties and minimal damage. The patrol demonstrated American technological superiority in submarine operations and provided tactical validation for radar-equipped submarine warfare. The achievement remains unique in World War II submarine operations. No other submarine sank 3 enemy submarines in single patrol. The record stands unchallenged because the circumstances that enabled it. Japanese submarines lacking radar encountering American submarine with radar in restricted waters no longer exist. Modern submarines all carry sophisticated detection systems. The advantage Batfish exploited disappeared with technological parity. The achievement remains historical artifact, documented precisely, preserved in museum submarine, fading from memory as the generation that accomplished it dies. 3 submarines sank. 165 men died. 1 American submarine hunted them systematically and killed them efficiently using technology they could not match. That is the complete story of USS Batfish's 7th through 9th kills, achieved in February 1945 when American submarines dominated and Japanese submarines died.